Hey everybody, I hope everybody's having a good day today. Today's been kind of a difficult day for me. I didn't start off too good for me today, but I believe that we can use things in our lives, even negative things in our lives, to turn it into a positive. Today I went to visit my biological dad. He and I have been pretty close. For the past 4 years, I've shared my testimony with him. He's seen with his own eyes the changed life that God has given me through his Spirit. There's no denying what he's seen. And today I went to go visit him and just to spend a little time with him because I'm going to be leaving soon. I'm going to be gone away for a long time, and I'm going to a part of the world that's not particularly friendly with people like me. And you know, my dad is worried a little bit about me, but instead of my dad telling me, son, I love you and I worry about you and I just want you to be safe, my dad attacked my belief today. My dad told me that I was crazy, that the voice that I heard the night that God saved me was the devil, and that the devil is the one that took away all my addictions and my pain and give me a new life. I've heard this before from other people. It's the same spirit. But my dad told me I was no different than all drug addicts, that all drug addicts just hear voices and they all think they know God. And he mocked me and laughed at me. Now I know my dad is hurting inside because he's afraid for me. But in his fear, his true belief in me came out today, and I realized that today, that you know, a lot of people say that the truth is often spoken in jest. You know, somebody will say something about you and say, oh, I was just kidding. But in all actuality, they really meant it when they said it. And those things that my dad said to me today, he believes. He comes from that old church, that Church of Christ, that believes that a book replaced the Holy Spirit. And to him, it is so foreign to believe that someone can actually hear the voice of God and that someone can be changed by God. It's the idea of that is so foreign and so scary to him that he totally rejects it because he's been taught that since he was a child. Even though he's seen with his own eyes the miracles that God has worked in my life. He's seen God take me from a frail human that weighed barely 120 pounds, that looked like something from a horror show, to what I am today. Someone that was a slave to drugs and alcohol. I spent some time with some young people a while back in the Philippines, and I could sense in the room that there were some of those kids there that were desperate, that were afraid, and I wanted to give them hope. In religion, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, none of that really gives you hope. It gives you a hope for some future event, but it doesn't give you a hope for now. You know, if any of you guys have followed my channel, you've seen that that in places like John 3:16 and Ephesians 2:8 through 9, that the faith and belief that's being spoken about there is the same word. It's pistis. It's divine faith. It's a faith that only God can give. It's the definition of it is basically God steps down out of heaven and reveals himself to that individual in a supernatural way. And from that point on, that person is changed forever. They have unshakable faith. And with unshakable faith, you can do anything. You can turn from the strongest drug addiction. You can turn from your pride and your ego. It's a supernatural faith. It's a faith that human effort cannot muster up on its own. And so I shared my testimony with these young people. And I told them, I said, that is what you have to pray for. Ask God for pistis. Supernatural, unshakable faith. That's what God gave me. You know, there's times that I've had atheists send me messages privately, and they've told me, they said, I used to be born again Christian. Now I'm not. I don't believe in God anymore. And my response to them always is, you were never born again in the first place. Because born again means being born from above. God reaches down out of heaven and touches you in a supernatural way, and whenever he does, you receive supernatural faith, unshakable faith. And from that point on, there is no way that you can ever say, I don't believe in God, because you'd be lying through your teeth. Today, my dad was mocking me and laughing at me and telling me I was crazy and that I was listening to the devil. He was giving the devil all this power, but he was keeping God trapped in a book. He said, tell me about your God without using the Bible. And I said, okay. I tried to tell him a story. I tried to give him a parable. He didn't want to hear it. He just started laughing at me. I finally had to tell my dad, Dad, I love you. Enjoy the rest of your life, and goodbye. And I know I'm not going to ever see my dad again. I'm not ever going to talk to my dad again. Not that I hate him, or not because I hate him or I'm angry with him, but I'm leaving soon, and I won't be back. So I had to leave at that because there was no sense in arguing. But I want to share with you what I was going to tell him. And I want to share it with you guys because he wouldn't let me share it with him. The night that God came to me, you guys, most of you have heard my testimony. You know where I was. I was a drug addict. I was in horrible shape. I was suicidal. The Spirit of God came to me. I wasn't even seeking God. He said, call out to Jesus. I'd asked out loud, I said, what do you want with me? Because I was angry. I was thinking to myself, if there is a God, I've got a bone to pick with him, you know, because I thought God was the reason my life was the way it was. I said, what do you want with me? And that's when I heard the most beautiful voice in the world. And that voice said, call out to Jesus. And whenever I did that, that's whenever God stepped down out of heaven, and it felt like I was given a hug by God. And it's a love that I have never felt before in my entire life, not even from my own mom. It was a love that changed everything about me. That night, if the voice had have told me to call out to Bob, and if I would have answered and said, okay, Bob, save me, and I would have experienced that same thing, you can bet your rear end that the next day I would have been on YouTube or on the street corners telling everybody about Bob. Because he's real to me. He's not just someone that I read about in a book. But he didn't tell me to call out to Bob. He told me to call out to Jesus. And I've had a changed life ever since. The night that God came to me, I knew the fruit of the Spirit without reading about it. I may not have used the same words that Paul used, but I knew there was something inside of me that was different. I knew I had this new